typically a lot of programs that you'll find online, they're solid, they're awesome, they work 80% of the time for 80% of people. But then there's the other 20% of people and the other 20% of the time. So a good basic baseline starter for a lot of people is to do the whole 3 sets of 10 and to start out kind of moderately heavy but with good form kind of thing. You've been working out for a long time, so you may be hitting that point to where you need something a little more specific, a little more directed. And as far as a girl, it's going to be hard for you to gain muscle mass, as you know, because you don't produce as much testosterone even as the smallest guy in the world, you know? Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to kind of trick the body into doing what it doesn't want to do, but it has to respond to the stimulus. So what we're going to talk about is lifting heavy. And when I say heavy, I mean challenging with good form. Obviously, don't kill yourself, but you do want to be pushing yourself. On that last rep, you might want to be a little wobbly, okay?
I hit 90% of my body weight when I squat the other day. Yeah, that was awesome.
That is awesome. No, that's legit. So lifting heavy, but with good form. Okay. The next thing you're going to want to do is, so are you familiar with the term eccentric? Okay. So there's eccentric and there's concentric. The negative and the positive. So when we talk about eccentric, we're talking about for a squat, the eccentric would be as you're coming down, and the concentric would be as you're coming up. So that would be the negative and the positive. No, you're fine. As far as focusing on this, the eccentric, the negative portion, try to control it as much as possible, because what's happening is your body is producing more force through the range of motion. So muscles actually don't contract, contrary to popular belief. They produce force. So you have a contractile element, which is the muscle, and you have the muscle tendon unit, which is obviously the tendon. So to make that move in planes of motion, the actin and the myosin heads, they have to produce force against whatever it's working against. Bicep curl, tricep extension, even though it's the same motion, the muscles are going to be acting differently against each other because of the force production that has to be done. The eccentric portion is the most important part. So, for all intents and purposes, we're going to say the negative. So your negative needs to be slow and controlled. And by that, I mean like 4 to 5 seconds minimum. It can be more, but you'll hate yourself and you're not going to be able to lift heavy with that. So let's say 4 to 5 seconds.
Is this a squat and bench press or just squat?
So you can do this for anything. You can do this for squat, bench, your bicep curls, your tricep extensions, your shoulder press, whatever you want. Me personally, I don't do it if I'm using a barbell, but I do it if I'm using a dumbbell. Because you can be a lot more controlled with a dumbbell than you can a barbell sometimes. Mm-hmm. And with a barbell, you kind of like to load it up a little bit. So just to give you an idea, hold that thought. We'll come back to it, okay? So we're going to try to go heavy, and we're going to focus on this negative, okay? Those are two of the most important things. When it comes to the heavy compound movements like the squat and the bench, you typically want to stay within, and this is to help you get bigger. And you can't get bigger without getting stronger, vice versa. So that's why I say lift heavy. And with your movements, your barbell movements, stay somewhere between 3 to 5 sets at 3 to 5 reps. And what's going to happen is, because you're moving a heavy load for low reps, it's gonna put a lot of emphasis on your muscles. And the only response that it can have is to try to help repair those as quickly as possible. And it's going to help you produce things like growth hormone in your body, which is going to make you a little bit bigger, which is what you want. Now, the negative, because it actually does a lot of damage to the muscles. It does more damage than just doing the 3 to 5 sets.
Good
Heavy.
damage.
Yes, good damage. Let's go ahead and emphasize that.
You're not gonna get arthritis in your
No.
joints.
We mean damage to the muscle fibers. So
Shred.
and the simplest way to put it, and this is the worst possible way to put this, but it's to keep it simple. So think of your muscles like this, and then whenever you damage them, a good damage, it's going to be like, well, crap, we got to make that wall stronger. So it'll rebuild here, but it'll build on top of here. And then when you damage it even further, like, well, crap, that wasn't strong enough. We got to rebuild here and then rebuild on top of it. So it's going to eventually make it bigger. That's a horrible, horrible analogy, but it's a simple way to put it that people can understand. So for damaging it, you want to focus on that negative. And this, we're going to keep somewhere in the 8 to 12 rep range. I would kind of switch this up if you want. You could do a 12, 10, 8, or you could do 8, 8, 8, 10, 10, 10. You get the picture. And what's going to happen is it's going to be the time under tension. So the more time under tension, slow and controlled as a negative, and the more reps that you're putting it through, the more it's just absolutely exhausting it. So it's going to take a lot of energy out of you, but it's going to build it back a lot faster. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Now with this, like I said, you can play around with this with your heavy compound movements with a barbell, or you can keep this as your barbell movements and this as your dumbbell movements. Either way is going to work, but it's not going to work if you're not eating enough protein to repair those muscles.
So I have a question. So is it better to start off, like, if I just got to the gym, I'm just warming up and I'm going to the barbell, is it better to start off on the lifting heavy one and then do the negative?
Yep.
Or the negative and then the heavy?
Nope, the heavy then the negatives.
Heavy then the negatives.
Yep. And it's not, and I'm putting a lot of emphasis on the negative, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't focus on the positive too.
Right.
So
right.
It's one of those, if it's a weight that you can, it'll definitely be a weight you can control negative, but you might not be able to pull it up in the positive. Mm-hmm. That's okay, because you see a lot of people that are like kind of heaving it up. That's okay as long as they're being controlled down. If they're heaving it up and then just letting it flop, they're not doing themselves a bit of good. So you can go heavy and kind of use a lot of momentum to bring it up, but if you're doing that, you need to make sure that you're coming down slow. And if this 4 to 5 second range is too much, then think 2 to 3 seconds. So like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 2. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 4. Or whatever, you know, just how many ever you're counting to that point. Right. That's kind of like gaining strength and mass in a nutshell.